So we have to think outside of our time frame, which Grok can do for us. Thank you, Grok, to be able to grasp the innocence of the intellectual mind 4,500 years ago, according to Ra. Not because it had any lack of potential, but the Maya itself wasn't dense enough yet. We know that Maya is built on words, right? Labels. Mastering the material world is partly having to do with understanding not only the mind and its construct of how it functions, because we are locked in its box. You know, we can't think outside of our mind. The mind is what thinks, along the accordance with what the brain is actually capable of holding in this brain pan. So the Maya, the words, the language, I mean, the explosion of things. We live in a world of things now, don't we? There were not enough names for things, not nearly as many things back in that day. So the way the Maya works is it's built upon words. And that creates the illusion. Once you have an identification, call something a tree, right? How many trees do you know of? Oh, there's so many. I say tree. I live in the country, in the desert. Very different tree than someone who lives in a city with stunted little trees and concrete trees, you know, might not even be a tree, versus somebody who lives in the mountains where the giant redwoods happen to be. Oh, a tree in the desert does not equal a tree in the Sequoia National Forest. So that's one of the locked-in limitations that we have when it comes to understanding the Maya and what's true. Everybody's Maya is different. We all have different perceptual realities and capabilities. Something that you cannot grasp just might be outside of your nature of reality. And yet there are certain things that are still there. They are still there even though you may be unaware. The consciousness 4,500 years ago, not really that long considering our planet, but long to us human beings. The only way to grasp it 4,500 years ago was to concretize something, turn something into something physical, tangible. So what you're actually turning it into is the conditioning that you were perceiving. So I perceive somebody with a raised voice, and my nature of history with someone who raised their voice as an autistic and very odd, acoustically sensitive child who had parents who were yelling a lot, somebody raised their voice, I might say, don't yell at me. When in fact, they're simply raising their voice. They're not really yelling. We don't have the same, my husband and I, this is one of the things, my heart. It hasn't happened recently, but anytime I would go into any kind of overwhelmment, this body being under stress goes into incredible overwhelmment. And when the overwhelmment hits, any little tiny sensitivity is like, don't yell at me, you know? So that is my Maya, or this body, its frequency principle, as in what has been triggered in past. So when we turn something that we are perceiving into a concretization of first identification, because identifying the Maya helps to concretize it. It offers up the expansion of our awareness and consciousness if we can see with a little bit of distance, as in now when something like that happens, there is a detachment, a sense of grander, greater awareness, even though the body may still be, my mind says, melting, as in sobbing, as in sad, as in whatever it is that it's re-experiencing through the trigger of that sensitivity. There is something greater that we can touch into, and that is the passenger consciousness, the witness consciousness. It's the thing that I want so badly for any of you who are still locked and trapped in the little tiny small box of who you think you are. So this development of the expansion of Maya and the extension of our consciousness and awareness helps us to offer up questions that not necessarily or can always be answered. And as this expansion shapes our illusions, the Maya, It shapes the consciousness. The quality of your consciousness has to do with the capacity for you to know what is true, truly, as in, even though I might be locked in a Maya, a game of illusion and confusion and delusion and distortion of emotional upset because of the triggering and the wounding. We are so much greater than just this little concretized energetic conditioning field that is braced upon the truer, deeper reality of our connective field of ourselves with ourselves, first, foremost, and always. So the consciousness data stream bombarding you, me, everybody, coming from these not only cardinal stars, as we have learned, but also the royal stars. This is the thing that shapes our Maya, our reality, beyond the things that we have been studying. For me, it's magnificent to be truly boggled. It boggles the mind. I mean, what mind? Well, I would love to meet them and see them and hear them speak of these things, but what mind can really grasp all these things all at once? We can't. We only can grasp singularly one thing at a time, generally. It's a very intelligent mind that can make linkages between different things at different times synchronously, like we have with people who have a quad split or a triple split, or even like me basic split. When you have different areas going on, they might have different frequencies of timing, but for me, what I recognize is sometimes my mind, even though it can go in a singular direction, once in a while it splits into different directions, past, present, future. It gets mixed. So think of it like that, where you have multiple, you could say, realities within a being. And then we have, once in a while, we have synchronicity, we have gelling, we have awareness. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to have connective fields with others in order to get the hookup, the communion, the connectivity between myself with my mind and my brain body system, having a husband like I do to be able to just walk up to and hug and feel that my mindset of romance, that embrace of the energetics of knowing the other as self and self in the other, that kind of thing, projector experience. So when you think about this, is the nature of the vessel of love. Remember the original cardinal directions, as in love is a direction, it's a space, it's a place, it's an energetic vortex of being. Okay, so these love gates, the earliest notion of Godhead began to emerge, this again, 4,500 years ago. Note the difference. Where Fomalhaut was comparatively to where now. Yes, we see the movement. So remember, Ra wants us to remember that these stars are carrying the cornerstones of the illusion of allness. Remember, the G center is the itness of being, the relativistic, there we go, nature between ourselves and our connective field to the all that isness of being. That's the G center. So these gates connect us to all that is. This body graph, every single one of us can relate to the gate. All 64, every one of you can relate through the principles of genetic continuity, your mind, through the line imprinting, your sun, earth, conscious mind, can relate to any old gate, all of them. Your body will physically resonate to the imprinting of what is you, what is truly there for you to experience, breathe, and be. But my body, fifth line body, can relate to all gates, all gates. So even if you might not have these gates, I don't. Anybody else? No love here. Nope. Does that mean I never experience the unconditional love of all that isness? No. It means that I'm open to totality. And those of you who actually have gate imprintings, planetary bodies opening the gate, each one of you embodies, can quite truly, really embody that principle too, to be an aspect of guiding us towards the direction of home. Love. Love. We are all just beings of different kinds of expressing of love. So the nature of the vessel of love is our connectivity to the allness. That includes very much our mystical direction. If you remember, when we went and looked through rave cosmology, the mystical way, that these two gates, 25, where the sun was this past week, and 25 and 10, there we go, 10, those two are part of the path. First, the cup, the handle of the vessel of love, 25, innocence, the spirit of the self, Aldebaran. And 10, Fomalhaut, where it's the lip of the lead, the expression of self-love. Not only love of self, gate 10 does dual duty. It's mutative after all. It's the heart of the mutative area of the quarter of the wheel that is about mutation. Yeah, transformation, purpose fulfilled through transformation. It's at the middle of this. 10, transformative love, loving oneself, allows you to love the world as it is, because you are by nature an extension of the world. Each one of us truly is an aspect. We are not separate from nature. So this is the very much mystical dimension of understanding. Love is all there is. It really is. Love is all you need. And so we look at the gate of behavior, gate 10, where Fomalhaut was 4,500 years ago. These aspects that you look at as far as this vessel of love, where we have love being rooted in not only our behavior, but the love itself, innocent spirit of the self, but also the body, the embodiment, 46, where we have this body form principle, this relational dynamic of physicality to, by extension, the nature of our reality, whatever it is that we come into contact with. And then truly look, we see the 15 giving us our nature of humanity, the love of humanity. Humanity, by an extension, the behavioral reality of my own personal behavior, gate 10, behavior of the self, versus in opposition, the nature of the behavior of human beings everywhere. Yeah? And conversely, by nature, of course, there's always this and that. Love of self or hatred of self. Love of humanity or hatred of humanity. Love of the body or detesting one's body. Truly a fallacy, tragedy. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. And then, yeah, because how can the body really hate itself? Not really, truly. This precious creature, child of God. The love, innocence, the greater connective field to the all that isness, 25, innocence, okay? So we're looking at these cardinal stars. Remember, these were the stars 4,500, 5,000 years ago, imprinting the nature of the direction of being. Love, direction. Love is a place. Love is a space. Okay, so more than that, Ross says that the whole aspect, if you look at the G center, this whole part, the G center and the way that global cycles move, is that they operate through the G center system, through locks and keys relative to the vessel and the sphinx. Sphinx being about direction, the vessel being about love. And you know that they alternate, right? It is love, then direction, love, then direction, love, then direction, love, and direction. So this established the whole movement of going forward in terms of civilization when we see the turning, the moving, the shifting of this grand clock, this Maya clock of our imprinting, what controls our experiential process. So the whole magical thing in looking at locks and keys is to see that these arms move. And the underlying mechanics, though they always stay the same, no matter what the illusion is on the surface, there's this illusion that we live in. Maybe a confusion or delusion, but it is the construct of our Maya framework. So the illusion wraps us around, and we who are Maya workers try to get you to turn around and see yourself, if it's even possible. And here's the illusion mechanism at work that we're working with, not only individually, but now here, we see it globally through global cycles. So back in the day, 33 BC to 378 AD, the cross of the vessel of love, you see, that was when those stars were there. And now we see the shift, the keys. See how the keys shift? The lock remains the same. The lock are the center of the G gates, the G center gates. You see them there? Watch. The lock are the G center gates. The keys are always shifting, just like when you have a key, not the old style, but the round ones. The round one, key has to move in order to open the lock. So as time moves our keys, we're going through different ages and stages of our nature of reality, the imprinting, beyond which the basic fundamental nature of the chart shows us. So 379 to 790 AD, Cross of Eden. Okay, Cross of Eden were these keys. And then we have the 798 to 1202 AD, Cross of Rulership were the keys. 1203 to 1614 AD, Cross of Consciousness as gates, these keys within the lock mechanism. 1615 to 2026 AD, next year, Cross of Planning. Those are the gates that are keys. So look down at your body graph, please. Or if you memorize it, you know it. You probably already recognize it. Which of these current Cross of Planning keys do you have natally in your birth chart? Okay, so I'm talking about, do you have the 9, the 61, the 37, the 42, the 16, 62, the 40, 32? Those are keys to this era, and these keys are shifting, about to shift. If we look at where these cardinal stars are, there's the word, cardinal stars, we can see how there is an exact precise match with Aldebaran and Antares within the lock mechanism where the keys are. And that's quite fascinating to see, very interesting. We've looked at that in the previous cardinals, the presence of the 9 and the 16. Now you know, you have that too, these different star imprintings. So if you have the 9 and the 16, obviously, but it's also because by its extension of nature, we are part of the global frequency. We are it. It's not outside of us. It is in us. We are a function of the global Cross of Planning era. We are a mechanism, a byproduct of it. We carry it within our genetic matrix. So Ross says, when we think about the 9 and the 16 in relationship, because always, of course, oppositions in the wheel, they have a relationship to each other. We also can think about the time that we're living in, Cross of Planning, where we have the 37 and 40 that creates an actual channel, and there creates the community and the structure and the support and so forth. What Ross says is that the aspect that has brought about what is so significant to all of us, and in fact makes it possible for us to see these forces out here, is that science has been developed since 1615, the beginning of the Cross of Planning. And as a direct result of this global background frequency, here it is, the 9 and the 16, focus in order to be determined and concentrated, skills, developing of skills, in order to identify, be enthusiastic, develop talent, that this is part of the nature of the era that's crumbling, and that very science is the technology that is the lens of our illusion pillars currently. That's the way that Ra put it. Illusion pillars, as in, what is it that substantiates the nature of the functioning of society currently? And I see how that's crumbling. It's part of what makes our time so dense in this Maya, in that this background frequency has a channel within it. You know, the opposition in the wheel, the two keys, 3740, that it makes it very concretized, solid, dense, consistent. So a unique moment in history now with this turning of the wheel, here and now. It takes thousands and thousands and thousands of years for this turning to have that stellar background field clock shift within the clock of our nature of understanding. But the parallel rotation, waiting for that alignment right there, is something that we can witness now. What an exciting time to be alive. So with the movement into the 2000s, it began to pick up speed, become more intense. Have you noticed recently more and more people wanting to hurry, right? Get it done faster. Those of you with undefined roots, my apologies. You might like go, what? And it's always been like that for me. But what I notice as a defined root is that things are speeding up. They're picking up, you know, things can crash and burn much more quickly, turn over, what have you. Things are just radically shifting, moving. And there's so much more pressure to hurry. If you look at YouTube as an example, just recently, the rollout for those of us who subscribe, because I don't like commercials, 3 times speed. Some of my favorite people that I always put on 2 times speed, I can still hear them and understand them on 3 times speed. Some, not all. Very, very interesting how things are picking up speed. So more intense. And what Ra is attributing the intensity to is Fomalhaut moving towards our sun. In essence, actually our solar system, our entirety of our solar system, this Fomalhaut star. Remember, young. It's got a lot of debris. It's and it's elliptical as an energy, giant. Okay, its entirety of its size, not density, but size, is comparable to our solar system as far as its frequency field of the energetics around it, you know, because as it's a star, but then there's all these debris around it, planetary debris in one planet, as we could see, it is affecting us energetically. So the galaxy in its movement in the galaxy, it's actually moving, our solar system is in its movement towards Fomalhaut. So our sun is moving towards Fomalhaut. This world of illusion and confusion and delusion, it's just intensifying. Oops, what to do? Okay, so we have the shift of the keys. Did you see? I'll go back. Check it out. This is now. This is tomorrow. No, just kidding. It's 2 years, you know, less than now. We know that 2027 is coming. It's here. That is that the global cycle itself is going to shift. And it means that the illusion and the cycle are going to be out of sync with each other, according to Ra. What he wants us to know is that it's going to be felt. You feel it? He says, I don't think there's anybody on this planet who can really grasp what it could mean to have a cycle change. We can't. It's not here yet, truly. We will see. 3.5 years into it, a decade, 100 years, if any of us live long enough to see, you will see that now we can all agree what it means to have a cycle change, but we can't experience the future until truly we've looked back on it, reflected upon it, because the reflection is part of the processing of the individual nature of now to present informs the past, which affects the future. So the future in context with our individual nature is broadcast being felt and being processed over these large swaths of time. So human beings, I mean, what do we know really, truly? hard to agree. We can agree to disagree confidently and self-assuredly. Many of us do this. But the fact is that when this began, so let's take a look at what we're looking at. This is the cross of planning gates, okay? Here's 1615, when this began, cross of planning, 1615. Here's the demarcation for 2027. We can see Antares in 9 and Regulus in 29, Aldebaran in 16, and Fomalhaut in 55. So that began, this cross of planning, at the beginning of the 17th century. So what we're talking about, thanks to the precession of the equinoxes, is the coincidence that global planning, or the emergence of the nine-centered human being, because 1615, it was the beginning of planning, but 1781 was the emergence of the nine-centered creature and the new type, projector type, as a new aspect of the species. So we who are nine-centered beings here now, everybody on this planet, have never, ever lived any other cycle, period. Those beings, seven-centered, they are not us. They are not we, So cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle of seven-centered beings, and the development of the self-reflected consciousness, because that is what it was focused on. Maya, illusion, confusion, and delusion, because those came in seven-centeredness, the metamorphic gates, being able to create Maya through mind-controlled dictate Maya. That is no longer the experiential realm, as in we who are nine-centered creatures have spirit consciousness on the rise, abundance in great disguise with the advent of the cross of the sleeping phoenix. The sleeping phoenix having to die before it gets reborn in order to live as an aware construct creature. So there are forms who are nine-centered humans, our body being the life, or form being the life. This form has never lived before on this planet. We've never, currently, nine-centered humans, we have never lived through a cycle, period, full stop. So we don't really know what's to be, what's to come. So no wonder a lot of people are scared. End of the first line era too. So we see that it's the end of the focus on tribal institutions and developing skills in order for the support mechanisms of our tribal institutions to go further. The viable parameters around which the illusion emerges is cross of planning and shifting. So my mind, if I were going to change this slide, would see human beings on top, layered on top, as in the number of beings carrying this background frequency, global shifting field, cross of planning, because that's you, me, everybody, into the new era of 2027. That's to come. That's what I would see in order to have an overlap, because it's not this, everybody thinks of it as this demarcation. The door's closing and we're just going to walk through a door and everybody's going to be different. No, sorry, you still carry your imprinting, your conditioning, your experiential realm. New babies coming in, on the other hand, very different story. Yeah, our parents, their parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, ancestors, back till 1615, we don't know any different. It is the children that are going to be born that have a new form. We are nine-centered Homo sapiens and transitus. Some of them will be full-blown raves. So our cycle is coming to an end. Our nine-centered human and transitus cycle is coming to an end. If we compare it to a Saturn cycle, Coronian cycle, Uranian cycle, we're nearing the edge of a precipice. And when the cycle changes, it's going to be radical, as in the background frequency shifting, cross of the sleeping phoenix, is going to arise and everything else is going to be gone. Now, of course, that'll take some time. You see here around 2140, look at the shifting, the changing of the tides, the seasons of our lives. We're looking at the background frequency being fully gone. Once the last of us who are nine-centered in transit are dead and gone, the ones born before 2027. So everything that we have been trusted to be stable in the delusion field is going to melt and something else is going to take its place. And that's the sleeping phoenix that is on the rise. As Ra would sing poetically, abundance in great disguise. Why I keep repeating it is why I keep hearing it, so I repeat it. 9, Antares, 16, Aldebaran, you can see that they're fading over the century, the coming era, the century, as in their availability of imprinting. Remember, they don't open a gate, but a planet being there or even a node, my mind says it's focusing, funneling, concentrating the energy, as in bringing it more to the availability of the being and its imprinting. It's the control mechanisms of what shapes and moves us based on our DNA, our constructs.